and Maria will be thrilled to answer anything that you want to know. Before we start that, though, also to let you know, Tommy Clinton will be roaming around the showroom here, collecting any of your donations. So if you want to get anything ready, and then we have some other tickets we're giving away later, but we'll do this little part of the event right now, question and answer with Maria. Carol there. Can we turn the house lights up just a hair, Paris, and we can see who's out in the lovely audience? Oh, thank you. Anybody have a first question for us? Wait, raise your hand.
Do you guys like the film?
There we go.
First, you like it?
Maria, what other movies and other events have you done?
Well, I did. It all started, I was doing HIV prevention at the time, and Jana Steele, which I don't know if many of you who knows, was a trans woman that was a performer in Vegas, and she had been on the Maury Povich show, came to me at a club. I was handing out condoms, and she said, "Girl, you need to come to this pageant we have in Vegas." And I said, "Really?" You know, because at that moment I never had done a pageant, and I said, okay. They said that there was a documentary that was going to be filmed as part of the pageant, and I thought it would be a way for me to talk about the program that I worked in, about, it was another opportunity to really speak about what I believed, and it became a documentary, Transtation. I don't know if anybody's seen it. It was on Showtime, and it's been on Logo, and from that I got the TV show Wild Things and other projects, but it was sort of, and currently I'm doing another documentary as part of a stage-on play of an all trans cast. We're sort of enacting another trans individual stories. So there's a couple of projects happening, but it all started because I said yes, and you know, and sometimes we just have to say yes.
That's fabulous. She gets involved. She's a mover and a shaker. And look at that smile. Look at that look. How could they resist? Some other questions from our lovely full house here. Wave your hand and Carol will come over. Right there, Carol.
I don't have a question, just a comment. I just want to say that was fabulous. It was right
Thank
on
you.
point. And as a minister, I've been in that situation where families have not respected who the person is at the end of life, and or their family, and I really have pressed, and I would never, I just want to know I'm here for the trans community, and
Thank you.
And I was very moved by it.
You know, and thank you for that comment. I think, you know, as funerals are sort of symbolism, and we do that because we sort of, it's part of innately our culture to sort of pay respect of the people we love through these rituals that we do. And I think as trans folks, you know, people say, well, it's just clothing. But our lives sometimes can be so challenging, and we really go against everything that we're sort of, there's all these things that we're supposed to do. We go against that to be who we are. In an instant, all that is erased. You know, and I have to say, even for myself, doing the film, the first time I put that suit on, I really sort of, I felt so uncomfortable, and it really made me sort of feel weird in my own skin, because it's not about the clothing, but it really is about how people perceive us, and I think clothing is something we use to let people see who we really are. It's not, you know, I can throw on a three-piece suit and it's not going to make me less of a woman, but there is symbolism into how somebody's life is erased in that moment, and the challenges and the journeys that many of the trans folks continue to face. Many who I'm sure are here could agree that how challenging our lives can be, and that is erased by throwing on. Furthermore, I had a girlfriend of mine that they even put a mustache on her. You know, so it's not just, it's happening to our community.
Carol, can we just go back to the question we had? Would you mind sharing your name and what group you're with, so if someone wants to talk to you later? Oh, I'm sorry.
My name is Benita Ramsey, and I'm pastor of Unity Fellowship Fellowship Church in Riverside.
Wonderful.
But I also represent the Riverside County Department of Mental Health Board.
Fabulous. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Did you know, Minister, we're getting married. We'll have to call you.
Yes, where's your husband? Stand up there. Put him in the spotlight
Jason
there.
is right there with the camera. He's
There we go.
Show your love.
Handsome charming. Some other questions out there? Carol can come to give you the mic.
You can ask anything.
Well,
No.
let me ask you a question, as long as we're right here. You are so gorgeous, so beautiful. When did you realize it was time for the change and not what you were originally brought up as?
Well, I think that, you know, I was born in 1970, and when I was sort of raised by a very Pentecostal grandparent, so there's things as children that we innately do because it's our instinct. I think, you know, we are drawn to things by nature. It's just we're drawn to things, and I never did the things that were expected of me as a boy. And at that young age, I did not know that meant I knew I was different. I couldn't put a name on it. Even at 19 years old, I had never heard of the word transgender. I have never heard of social services, and but I knew I was a woman. I just knew it. And at 18, my mother kicked me out of my home, and I took a Greyhound, ended up in Hollywood, and you know, that begins sort of the journey that many of the women still today face, which is what we're trying to sort of bring awareness about, the inequity, the inequality that there are for many of our communities. You know, I was faced with sex work, and I was homeless, and you know, that was a long time ago, but I think that still today the women go through that. But it was sort of something I knew. It was innately something that I knew. And before I knew that you could have laser, or you could do all the wonderful stuff that you could do to yourself now. I mean, thank God for technology. Because fuck, I would still have hair on my chest.
Well, you are beautiful. You're gorgeous. Yeah.
Thank you to my doctors. Thank you to God for giving them the skill to really manufacture all this that you see here before you.
Have you written a book, or do you have a blog or anything?
Well, I'm actually in the process of working as a part of the theater company. We are going to have a book that's going to be coming out. It's not titled yet, but the documentary is being submitted to Sundance. It should be out next month, and hopefully we can bring the stage show here to Palm Springs.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a beautiful stage show. All the actors are trans, and it's trans stories by trans individuals. That's my pitch. Hopefully we'll come and do it here for you guys.
Yeah. Other questions?
You can ask anything. No, this is not my real hair.
Question over here, Carol.
You can ask anything you want.
The gentleman where Don and Bob usually are sitting. She knows the corner there.
Swallow, baby.
Yeah.
Of course you wouldn't notice right when I got food in my mouth. Thank you. So where were you born?
I was born in Brooklyn. But
Way across town.
Yes, just a couple of, yeah. But I was raised in Puerto Rico from the age of 3 till I was 16. And then I moved to Elko, Nevada. Which is funny, you know, because I know, I went to high school there and fucking sucked.
How many people?
It was fucking terrible.
A couple hundred people? Is it real small
Oh my
town?
God, there was one high school when I went there. I think they got now 2. Yeah, but it sucked. You know, it's funny because when we were driving, me and Jason today, I said, and you see all the sagebrush and the miles and miles of nothing. I'm like, fuck, I feel like I'm going back home. Yeah, but I do love Palm Springs. We've had such a good time, haven't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah, all of us too, yeah. Love to have, by the way. Any other questions? You can ask anything.
Somebody waving?
Yes, I am wearing underwear.
Maria, right here.
Ah,
Why? She'll bring the
because
mic over here.
technical difficulties.
Right over here. Did you have one, my dear? Right behind you, Carol.
Does your family accept you now?
You know, it took a long time for my family to accept me. I'm 6'2". When I was 19, you know, I mean, I'm still 200 pounds. But I was 6'2", 200 pounds. I was in the football team. The expectation was that, you know, I was a good-looking man, that I was going to be this man, you know. And my mother, at the age of 18, decided, you know, I can't deal with this. And it took years of sort of rebuilding. And I think it was more, they were afraid that I would be a failure and that I would be laughed at. And I think, you know, because my mother, when I started living as a woman, because I said, fuck it, I'm going to just live how I feel. And I did. You know, but this is early 90s. I mean, it was early 90s. I wore red lipstick at 2 o'clock in the afternoon with a green shadow, and I said, fucking, I'm a woman. And, you know, my mom used to tell me, because at that point I was struggling with, you know, keeping an apartment, being able to get a job, because nobody wanted to hire me. Nobody wanted to hire me. I had a really hard time. And my mother would say, why can't you just be like all the other gays and dress up on the weekends? So, yes, my family is supportive now, but it's been a long journey. And I think when my mother started seeing that this was not a phase, I think they're sort of in awe now that, and I'm so blessed that people listen to what I have to say, that I feel that now I'm privileged in some ways, because so many members of my community don't have the luxury that I have today. And I acknowledge that, and I think they're proud of me now. But it took a long time from Lewis and that person I was and how sad and hopeless I felt to the woman I've become. It's been a long journey. Yeah.
Congratulations. Any other questions out over here, Carol, up front here?
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Any other questions?
There's one. There we go.
As a school counselor, for middle school, I have a student who's transgender when he was in 6th grade. Any advice now, when you look back, for me to give to him, just from where he's coming from?
I think the beautiful thing is that policies and laws and things are changing. You see that sort of, you know, to see Laverne Cox on Time Magazine and The Tipping Point, that's something I never thought I would see. And I think now that gay marriage is really sweeping across the country, I think that perhaps our issues would sort of be in the forefront. And we'll get more support from our allies, gays and lesbians. But I think that if I can sort of tell myself at 18, education is something that is important. I think that a lot of times we're so focused on our transition of becoming who we are that we sort of lose sight of the kind of women or men we want to be. And that was my case. So I would say, use my experience to say, you know, stay in school, educate yourself. Because I think even women who are trans, who are educated, and I speak a lot about women because I'm a woman and it's sort of my experience, have a challenging time. I know trans women that have degrees and can't get a job and have ended up having to go back to sex work. And this is stuff we're not talking about. You know, we're not talking about, you know, the fact that women, you know, and men, I'm sure, but women predominantly are really having a challenging time getting work. And if you don't have really the education to back it up, you know, and now that in California especially, most of our costs of transitioning are covered. We're really in a new age where you have resources that you can use to sort of, I just found out at UCLA, if you're transitioning, they'll take care of your cost of your surgery, their insurance, if you really sort of